Chapter 2374, Cutting Vegetables and Chopping Melons. Published by Divine Tao Library. Translator, Salavan and Rykov. Translation checker, Pew Pew Lasergun. Editor and proofreader, Leo of Zion Mountain and Dale Ligerkeys. Ling Yin Chin was instantly stunned, because a man once told her the same thing many years ago, and even after so many years passed, she still remembered the smile and demeanor of that man. At this moment, his figure and the figure of this person called Yang Kai seemed to overlap, causing her to lose herself for a moment. Well said, but talk is meaningless without strength, Yang Yaoshi scoffed. This king would like to see how you can still forge ahead in front of me and meet me head on. Were you the one who hit my junior sister? Yang Kai stared coldly at him. That's right, Yang Yaoshi looked contemptuously at Yang Kai. She dared to be presumptuous in front of this king, so one slap was already a light punishment for her. If you still... He was still trying to threaten him, but halfway through speaking, he suddenly lost sight of Yang Kai's figure. In the next moment, his eyes shrank as he saw Yang Kai appear half a meter in front of him and raise his hand, sending a slap right over. Yang Yaoshi jolted and instinctively moved to the side to avoid the blow, but Yang Kai was faster than he could have imagined. Before he could move, the slap had already hit him square in the face. Pa! Yang Yaoshi's entire body twirled in midair and he spat out a few teeth as well as a mouthful of blood before landing heavily on the ground. Silence. The entire deck was dead silent. Zhao Yi and the others were all staring dumbfoundedly at this unbelievable scene. Ling Yin Chin was also shocked at the sight. Even though she had not had much contact with Yang Kai, from her perception, he wasn't a hot-tempered person. On the contrary, he was quite well-mannered, so she had never expected he would directly pick a fight with Yang Yaoshi, and even give him a big slap to the face. What do we do now? Ling Yin Chin originally hoped that they would be able to avoid this disaster, but now, it seemed that was only her wishful thinking. Wait. After failing his breakthrough and cutting off his cultivation, his aura should have been weak and his strength should have declined. Even if it was a sneak attack, how could a third-order Dao Source Realm cultivator like Yang Yaoshi not be able to dodge that blow? However, after she quickly contemplated Yang Kai's current state, she found that he didn't show any signs of his aura being weakened or his strength declining. The Source Chi fluctuations he gave off just now were also of an intensity a third-order Dao Source Realm cultivator should possess. What really happened to him? Ling Yin Chin was befuddled. Those from Profound Cloud Pavilion were also stunned. On this solitary void sea, and even on Clear Sky Island, they had always been the most powerful ones, so how could they have expected that they would be slapped across the face by somebody one day? And the recipient of that slap was even their own Vice Pavilion Master. The brains of all these people were buzzing and they almost turned into fools. You actually dare to hit me? Yang Yaoshi got up from the ground. His face had turned completely hideous and he spat out a mouthful of blood as he glared at Yang Kai. Do you know who this king is? How dare you hit me? Yang Kai snorted, daring to be presumptuous in front of this young master. A slap is already considered a light punishment for you. If you dare to run your mouth again, I'll end your worthless life. Yang Yaoshi was taken aback for a moment. Following that, he laughed in anger and roared hysterically, kill them. I want all the men on that ship dead, and I want their women to suffer a life worse than death. What Yang Kai said really got to him, and he was completely set off, incomparable hatred filling his face. Ling Yin Chin's face changed when she heard this and she quickly shouted, Vice Pavilion Master Yang, please show mercy. Her ship only had a dozen crew members, and only half of them were at the Dao Source Realm, the rest were just Origin Kings. However, there were at least 30 Dao Source Realm cultivators in Profound Cloud Pavilion's crew. No matter how you looked at it, it was unlikely for them to win with such a huge disparity in their strength. If they really fought here, then they would definitely die pitiful deaths. As the big sister, she naturally had to think for the crew's sake. Yang Yaoshi raised his voice, it's too late to say anything now. Ling Yin Chin, this king will personally take care of you himself. I'll have you stripped and hung from the gates of Clear Sky City. Yang Kai's provocation ended up causing him to direct his hatred to Ling Yin Chin as well. As a female cultivator, being stripped naked and hung from the city gates to be gawked at was definitely the greatest insult she could receive. When she heard this, Ling Yin Chin's heart instantly sank. Dong dong dong. The many cultivators of Profound Cloud Pavilion had already flown up, each of them with hideously fierce faces. They clearly did not plan to show any mercy to Ling Yin Chin and her crew today. Seeing this situation, Ling Yin Chin also knew that things could not be undone, so she grit her teeth and gave the order, we fight. The faces of Zhao Yi and the rest turned cold, and each of them pushed their source chi while summoning their artifacts. Teleporting back, Yang Kai suddenly appeared back in front of Zhao Yi and the others to face the incoming storm. Senior brother, be careful. Lu Xianyun had also summoned her artifact and yelled out to him when she saw this. Take care of yourself. As Yang Kai spoke, he flicked his wrist and a broad sword appeared in his grip. Chop off his limbs and cripple his cultivation. I want him to know what happens when someone dares provoke this king. Yang Yaoshi's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Yang Kai while he shouted to his men. He was truly enraged. No one had ever dared to go against him, much less slap him across the face in front of so many people. Yang Kai was the first to do such a thing, so the hatred he felt for him was so deep that even all the water in the Solitude Void Sea would be unable to wash it away. How could he dispel the anger in his heart if he doesn't show Yang Kai hell? Yang Kai remained indifferent as he faced the dozen or so cultivators pouncing over like starving wolves and tigers. With just a slight twist of his sword, a halo suddenly fell and sword chi filled the air. Myriad sword arts, radiant moon swallows the wolf. A shower of sword waves swept out with a dazzling flash. Hong hong hong. Before the group of profound cloud pavilion cultivators at the front realized what was happening, they were shocked to find that their defensive artifacts and protective source chi had been easily destroyed, followed by pain through their bodies that robbed them of their consciousnesses. Hualala. The stench of blood filled the air as 7 or 8 cultivators standing at the very front collapsed like cut grass, blood and guts flowing all over the deck. The cultivators standing behind them were also badly injured and all of them fell to the ground, howling in pain. When the other profound cloud pavilion cultivators saw this sudden change in the situation, they all froze in place and stared wide-eyed at Yang Kai, their eyes overflowing with fear and shock. Emperor Aura, Emperor Artifact. Yang Yaoshi, who had his hand covering one cheek, was preparing to watch the good show when he suddenly shouted in disbelief, his eyes locking onto Yang Kai's myriad sword like a swarm of locusts, greed flashing across their depths. As soon as Yang Kai launched the attack, Yang Yaoshi was able to feel the artifact's strength. This was an Emperor Artifact, a genuine Emperor Artifact. If he could get his hands on it, then he may be able to borrow the power of this Emperor Artifact to comprehend the mysteries of the Emperor realm. What are this kid's origins? How did he get his hands on an Emperor Artifact? Ling Yinqin and the others were also dumbfounded. They thought it would be hard for them to escape this calamity and were preparing for a desperate last struggle, but before the battle could even be joined, a dozen of the enemy had fallen before them. And all of this was caused by a single strike from Yang Kai. What was this situation? Ling Yinqin was confused by this and she stared at Yang Kai's back blankly with her beautiful eyes, thinking, didn't he fail his breakthrough and cut off his cultivation? How can he still exert such a powerful blow? That blow just now, could it just be the power of his Emperor Artifact? That's right, it must definitely be the power of his Emperor Artifact. Otherwise, it was simply impossible for him to achieve something of this level. Ling Yinqing had heard that Emperor Artifacts were all extremely powerful, and now it seemed that what she heard was true. However, from what she knew, the load of using an Emperor Artifact was also extremely high. She believed that it was very likely that Yang Kai would not be able to launch a second strike. What are you waiting for? He just failed his breakthrough and cannot possibly have much strength left. Just that one blow and he's already an arrow at the end of its flight. Yang Yaoshi was clearly thinking the same thing as Ling Yinqin. When he saw his subordinates scared out of their wits, he quickly shouted at them with disappointed rage and urged them forward. Only after he said this did the profound cloud pavilion cultivators, who were not moving forward, suddenly come back to their senses as if woken from a dream. Their previous timidity and fear were swept away and they all regained their ruthless expressions. Yang Kai grinned fiercely and flicked both his hands, causing 2 huge moon blades to fly out and crash directly into the enemy crew. In the next moment, screams and shrieks echoed through the air as everywhere the moon blades passed, all the enemy cultivators were unable to resist, the slightest touch severing them in half on the spot. There was a path to heaven but you refused to take it. Instead of banging on the doors to hell, none of you should even dream about leaving here today. Yang Kai coldly snorted and flicked his hands again. Moonblade after moonblade shot out, sending the profound cloud pavilion cultivators screaming for their fathers and crying for their mothers on the deck. A group of trash with only first and second order Daosource realm cultivators followed by a mob of origin kings was not a force Yang Kai needed to put in his eyes with his current strength and means. In but 3 breaths of time, only around 15 were left of the over 30 cultivators from profound cloud pavilion, the rest were lying on the deck with no vitality at all. Run away. No one knew who shouted that, but in the next moment, a light shot out to sea. This man was clearly scared witless by Yang Kai's brutality and didn't dare to remain. When the others saw this, they naturally had no desire left to fight and all of them fled. Ling Yin-chin's face changed when she saw this and shouted, "Chase them down in groups of 2, don't let any of them escape." The battle happened so quickly that she hadn't even realized what was going on before it was all over, but when she saw the remaining few fleeing, how could she just sit back and do nothing? Once they escape and word got back to Clear Sky Island, then the Pavilion Master of Profound Cloud Pavilion would definitely not just let this go. That was an Emperor Realm Master, none of them would be able to stand up to him if he decided to come for them. After Zhao Yi and the others got the order, they naturally hurried to pursue their targets. The sea breeze whistled across the deck, bringing with it the disgusting stench of blood and gore. The scene was shocking, as if an evil spirit had passed by here and left a wave of slaughter in its wake. Yang Yaoshi was shaking all over, face pale as a sheet, staring terrified at Yang Kai. He couldn't understand how a little brat could still be so strong even after failing in a breakthrough attempt. His own men that numbered more than 30 didn't even last more than 10 breaths before they were all either killed or fled in terror. In the blink of an eye, he had become the last man standing.